Yo, 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 yo. Let's get into this. What are we even getting into right now? What is going on? YouTube and chat. Our first daytime live stream. So what we got going on here, we are testing the new patch 3.2 PTR public test ROM. Let's check it out. So, yeah, to anyone in chat, anyone viewing, watching, anything like that, this is the patch 3.2 PTR public test ROM for Diablo 2 Resurrected. We have 3 pre-built Warlocks here. We have a level 18 Flame test, a level 15 Miasma test, a level 30 Bind Demon test, and a level 80 Echoing Strike Warlock. So let's quickly just run through these characters, check what they gave us, check what's going on. So we have the Flame test now. This is our level 18, I believe. Yeah, level 18. So they have left all the stat points up to you to distribute as you would like. They have put 13 points into Ring of Fire and given you 3 points to sort of put where you choose. So I guess you could have Ring of Fire, maybe Sigil, Lethargy, Sigil Rancor, something like that. Or maybe you want Levitation Mastery, or maybe even some demons or something like that. So yeah, pretty basic setup. I think they are just wanting to mainly test Ring of Fire here. And I think, look, if you can see, that is doing about 114 fire damage at level, what are we, level 18. And we've got a couple into Flame Waves, so we can also test that. That should be pretty interesting. I think it should still be pretty decent. So that is our Flame test, and we've got our Miasma test Warlock, level 15. Let's just check it out. I didn't check the gear on the Flame Warlock. So it looks like we have some very basic gear going on here. Sort of maybe even worse than what you would have on your character if you were just starting and playing normally. We don't really have anything in the stash there. We have got 12 into Miasma Bolt and 4 into Miasma Chain. I'm very curious to test this out. This is probably the most interesting sort of bolt for me to test out personally. Nothing in Eldritch and Demon. We have no skill points remaining, and we have 60 stat points to distribute how we want. A very basic setup there. I have to just quickly test this. I can't not. I just want to see how it is to cast your Miasma Chains without any delay. Obviously, there's not a lot of faster cast rate going on now. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. This is interesting. That is awesome. This is going to be very cool. I am very excited for that. Yep. That is awesome. Anyway, okay. That's the Miasma Bolt. We're going to get into that very shortly. Bind Demon Warlock as a tester. What have they given us here? Sorry if it's a bit noisy in the background today. It is the middle of the day. There's stuff going on in my house here. It's maybe a bit chaotic, but it is what it is. So we've got a 3-socketed breastplate, 3-socketed mask. We've got an Roderick cube. What's in the cube? Nothing. Okay, so we got some random res magic find. Gloves, rare ring. Demonite sash, another rare ring, rare boot, rare book. 2-socketed armor, stealth. Some very basic stuff. What do we have in terms of skills? It seems like we have 26 skill points remaining, and then just enough to get to Bind Demon. That should be interesting. I'm keen to see what Vine Demon is like now. I think it's going to be substantially weaker, but we will definitely give that a good test. So we also have 110 stat points there. So let's check out what I'm sure everybody is most excited to start testing, and that is the Echoing Strike Warlock. So what do we have going on here? Wow, a pretty kitted out. We got some gold there. We got nothing in the shared tabs, nothing like that. We have nothing on the offhand. In terms of skills, we have Echoing Strike and its synergies maxed. And then we have nothing in the Chaos Tree and 1 into every point for the demonic skill tree, the demon skill tree. So interesting way to do things, interesting setup, and then we have 17 skill choices remaining. We also have a ton of stat points and nothing really put in stats here. Our resistances aren't fantastic. We'll probably put a bunch into life. I don't think we need any more into strength at least. We'll just need to think about what we do here. Got a bit of magic find. What's interesting is we have 124 cast rate, which is kind of useless because the breakpoints are 75 and 125. So we're like 1 point away from the best breakpoint and with no way to get past that. So we're kind of on the second breakpoint. So what do we have in terms of gear? We have an Eth, Thundermaw, Fortitude, Eth. That's interesting that it's Eth because we will very quickly see how long the durability lasts with our Eth weapon and no way to repair it. We've got a 220, 19 strength, 20 all-res Baird diadem there. That's pretty good. That would cost a pretty penny. We've got a High Lords, pretty much best in slot or standard in the slot for an Echoing Strike Warlock. We've got an Enigma, which is very sort of, it's by far best in slot, but also I'm very grateful to have the Enigma. We have a 29 faster cast rate Oz Mephisto, so that's why we are 1 point below the best breakpoint there. So if only that rolled 30, otherwise the stats are pretty average. It's got a Protector Stone in it, giving us that minus enemy physical resistance and all that. Trangs, Gloves, Stone of Jordan, a Rax, and a faster cast rate ring with a bit of mana and life, Fire Rays, and Gore Riders. Then we've also got, wow, some nice skillers here. So we got a renewed Bone Break. It's pretty crazy. And then we got an inventory full of skillers and all-res life, small charms, a 1910-6 Annie, a 2011 Torch. So, how is Echoing Strike? I guess that is the big question, isn't it? I think what we're gonna do is put Echoing Strike on there. So what we got? Teleport. I guess we can bind demons. Psychic Ward. Okay, let's check what we are gonna do now in terms of stat points, skill points, all of that. So, Echoing Strike. Got it maxed in all its synergies. I don't think we're going to do anything in Levitation Mastery. We got 1 into all the demon skills. Do we need a sigil? I think maybe just as a crowd control sort of thing. I mean, also for the attack rating, definitely 1 into sigil lethargy. I don't think we're going to need sigil death at all. So a point into sigil lethargy, I think we'll make that our F2. Where are we? F2. Then we have 16 skill points. So we don't really have a way to break physical immunes if we run into those. So I'm thinking that Hex Purge or Hex Bane. I think Hex Purge will probably be the go. So I'm wondering, do we put all our remaining points into that? So at the moment, we can have one demon. So we'd have to put 10 points into that in order to have 2 demons. I'm wondering, do we invest that much into that? Is it worth consuming a goat man? It's kind of confusing what to go for here. Do we put 1 into Hex Purge? And then, okay, look, either way, I'm putting at least 1 into Hex Purge. Yeah, I reckon 1 into Hex Purge. Then let's put enough into Demonic Mastery. So why did it go to 2 max demons there? Was that because I put 5 skill points into it? I can't even remember at what point did it go to 2 max demons. Either way, 2 is what we need. I just want to see something. If I take that off, we got a skill tree. I just wanted to see if soft points did anything there. So I think at 5 soft points, 5 hard points, the max demons changed there. So put this back on. So what else we got going on here? Where are we going to put the rest of our points? Are we going to put it into Bind Demon? Are we going to put it into Blood Oath? Nah. Demonic Mastery, Consume, Bound Demon. Maybe getting that up will be beneficial. Let's do that. We're still off 2 points. But okay, so at least we get all of the Bound Demon gains bonuses there, but we don't have the ability to do anything more than a normal demon now. So, stat points. Base value 20. I'm going to put a fair amount of strength in. We got a Torch and Annie. What are we talking? We got 40 attributes there. We got 20 strength from our Helm, so let's call that 60. So I reckon if we get 100 points into strength, then 100 base points into strength, then we can kind of use a spirit shield if we need to at any point, or if we want to start messing around with shields or something like that. What else is giving us strength here? Nothing there. Yeah, maybe we'll... Oh, obviously also Enigma. Yeah, maybe that's enough in the strength there. 60 strength plus our 40 plus that 120. Yeah, I reckon we're good on strength. I'm not sure with mana how we are going to be. Dex, I don't think. I reckon let's just put the rest into Vite. And check what we are working with here. So, got Hex Purge as a buff. We've got Psychic Ward. Gonna consume a Goatman. Consume. And I guess we can bind demons. Okay, we've got our Scroll of Town portal there. Okay. Let's go out and give this a little bit of a test. What is this gonna be like? So in terms of damage, we're looking at about 8k echoing strike damage right now. Got about 3k life. Our resistances aren't fantastic. Damage seems pretty fair. The only issue I'm sensing is that we have no leech at all. And that is quite a issue for us. We are going to be having to be potioning like madmen. We also need to bind ourselves a demon here. And we're not going to be able to bind any sort of special demon. I think in terms of damage output at this sort of current setup, we are definitely doing a fair amount of damage. But that's other things like mana and oh, please be a mana leech ring. That would be amazing. We need some Scrolls of Identity or Tome of Identity, so we'll put one of our skillers in the stash here. And what we got going on there. This is definitely going to be interesting, I can tell you that. 20 strength or resist 13. What a lucky little find early on. We don't need that extra cast rate there. I'll put that in there, thank you. Bye-bye ring that Blizzard gave us. So you can definitely, right off the bat, feel the effects of not having the most fantastic attack rating. So we got about a 70% chance to hit. I think it could be better. And we should be laying down that Hex Purge to assist us with that. We are in a very interesting spot. That is, at the very least, what I can tell you here. So, what is our sort of buffing? I'm just hoping to find a nice ring from the council here. Wow. With no leech, you definitely feel the effects of how much mana Echoing Strike needs. Just constantly needing mana at the moment. It's a weird feeling because it's almost like you are playing a level 1 character that has mana issues, because you are just chugging down mana like a crazy thing. We are definitely going to need an insight, I can tell you that. So slapping on an insight would help, and definitely some leech. And especially if you're going to be teleporting around. Let's give River Flame a quick try here. So we also just need to bind ourselves a demon quickly. So that bind attempt failed. Let's try another attempt. Wow, it is hard to bind a demon. Very hard indeed. Come on. So I'm trying and trying and trying to bind this demon, and he just doesn't seem to be working. Okay, there we go. I had to hold it down a little longer there. So we got Fanaticism Aura, which is interesting. I forgot that I had to channel. That was my mistake. I was literally just firing it off. I haven't bound a demon in quite a while. Very much my mistake. So, let's... I don't know why weapon swap. I don't have a CTA. So let's go check what this is about. So we're doing 11k damage. That's a big difference to the damage numbers we are used to with this build. Our attack rating is about 3000. Wow, mana burn. That is exactly what we don't want to encounter. This mana situation is pretty dire. We need to sort that out as soon as possible. I'm gonna have to go buy some mana pots. I'm forgetting that I need to cast Sigil Lethargy. That is a huge buff that we actually require at this point in time. Let me go back to town quickly and get some mana potions, because otherwise we are not going to survive out there. I wonder if that's even enough mana potions. So your damage output is very fair. You do a decent amount of damage. I think on the damage front we are not lacking in a major way. It's just the sort of utility front. Come on. Consume, you bastard. Consume. Oh, why am I binding? Idiot. Wrong. I'm supposed to be pushing F6. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything. I feel in a very strange spot playing this character that's sort of pieced together with not the right stuff right here. I think at the very least they could have given you a little bit of leech with the setup going on right here. So as we can also see, we're probably going to need to use Engorge quite often, because our demon is taking some damage there. So we'll put Engorge in F6 and then Consume F7. Okay, that's just to heal up our demon a bit there. It was weird with Bind Demon in the past. I'd always never channel it. I'd just fire it off once and it would basically bind any demon that it hit. And now I actually have to channel the skill in order to get a demon bound. So it's like the chance to bind a demon is greatly reduced. I feel like I'm not even using teleport at the moment because it uses too much mana and I need to find some mana leech. Not enough mana, not enough mana. Where's the best place for me to find some mana leech on a ring? Gamble. Should I gamble rings? Gambling rings seems like a bit of a gamble. I know that sounds like I'm trying to make a joke, but I'm not. It just seems like a gamble. I might use all the little bit of money I have and not find a mana leech ring. So But maybe it's worth it because this mana situation is really hamstringing the build right now. I think after this chaos run, we'll try get a ring. Of course he had to die outside of my loot range there. I think, just from the little that I can tell so far, that if we had some life and mana leech, we would be in quite a decent spot with this build right now. It wouldn't be so ridiculously cumbersome to play. So some life and mana leech is kind of necessary. I mean, we always knew that, but I haven't played like this in quite a while, so it's quite a big sort of mental adjustment to make. Have any of you guys been playing the PTR? What are your thoughts so far? I'd love to hear some feedback. This is a very interesting time for Diablo 2 Resurrected. Rejuves. What we got going on with this spear? F. That is interesting. Durability 23 out of 31. We are very quickly running out of durability. Yeah. Okay, we got no sockets in that. Does this have 4 sockets? And then we can make it insight. 5 sockets, obedience. Shoulder, I'll take that. Not enough mana, not enough mana, not enough mana. As you can see, your damage output is really decent. I think that was one of the most misunderstood things about Echoing Strike, is it was doing so much damage before, and so much overkill damage, that people just got like addicted to the damage numbers, but in actual fact, you're just overkilling everything by such a huge margin, such an unnecessary margin, that all that damage was not needed. You could have put on any weapon that you wanted with the Echoing Strike build, and you would have been killing everything perfectly fine. I mean, even Wirt's leg was more than enough to kill any monster. So you're definitely feeling a bit of a difference on bosses here. Interesting stuff. He almost killed my demon, which is unexpected, or also a very unusual feeling. I'm not used to that at all. You just kind of expect your demon to be completely unkillable. I wonder, have all the quests been done? I wonder if that means that we have our skill quests and all that done. So, what am I looking for here? Potions, lots of potions. That's a definite. Jamela, give me a mana leech ring, yeah. That's what I'm looking for. What we got going on here? Something with mana leech, please. Yeah, my dog. Yeah. Okay, let's gamble a couple rings, see if we can get some mana leech going on, yeah. We're definitely going to need some life leaves. Definitely going to need some mana leech. And I think that takes preference almost over anything at the moment. Oh, we are playing with fire here. Better get some leech before we run out of money. How hard is it to get a simple leech ring when you need one, eh? Because otherwise we are going to be playing a very slow and painful game of Diablo 2 here with no leech. Come on, bring on the leech. Bring on the leech. We're also going to have to get some ruins because, yes, a little bit of mana leech. We can definitely fuck with that. Let's see, do we get some life leech? That would also be useful. I'll trade that Stone of Jordan for some life leech any day. Let's see how this does for us. Stone of Jordan, bye-bye. Give me some life leech. That's really strange how they just like throw us into this build with no leech. Okay, let's give this another shot then. Where are we gonna go? Canyon of the Magi. Why am I weapon swapping? Okay. Let's see, does 2% mana leech do enough? Definitely helps, but an insight would still be nice. I think that's also one thing we didn't realize in the current state of the game, not in the PTR, is that we were doing so much damage that 2% mana leech would get us all the mana we needed back. But now, because our damage has gone down so substantially, 2% mana is not really what the sort of level that can sustain us anymore. But yeah, even a little bit of life and mana leech, like we just chucked on the character quickly now, has made a ton of damage. Or not damage, a ton of difference to how everything's going on now. I'm wondering if we should do... Should we do some council runs so that we get a couple of ruins and can hopefully do an inside runeword soon? Southern Wallstone Shard, cool. It's like I think everyone's worst fear of damage being the biggest concern. That's not really the case from what I'm feeling and experiencing here. We're still doing plenty of damage, but we just no longer have that crazy bound demon. We don't have that amp damage proc. We need a lot of sustain to stay tanky. It's just feeling very different. So I keep on forgetting that I must use Sigil Lethargy for better attack rating. I mean, I must say, even just with Hex Purge, our attack rating is not as bad as I thought it would be. So there's a bit of hope there. What do we get from Fortitude here? We have 52 attack rating. Yeah, Fortitude I think is definitely going to be a solid option in the new patch. I just basically want to do any area that will potentially get me ruins so that I can make an insight. And then also anything that can get me bases, and that's why I'm thinking a cow run is potentially in order, as well as doing some trav runs. But yeah, this is feeling interesting. I wonder if we can reset our stats and skills at Akara. That would be very nice, because then we can get a couple other things a test very soon. I mean, the main concern for me is that the durability on this insight is going to run out extremely quickly, and then we are going to be stuck with no weapon to test things out with. So that's why I want to maybe get an insight as well as for mana reasons. Ooh, if this was a nice dual leech ring, I would be very grateful. What we got here? Mana after kill. Who's in chat? Who is interested in this PTR at the moment? I feel like I am in a weird place right now. This is a very interesting sort of thing to be testing. I'm very happy, don't get me wrong about that. Like, I am very much for the changes that they are planning on implementing, and even just playing briefly right now, I feel like the changes are pretty solid. At least with this Echoing Strike build that I'm feeling so far. Don't need that. Oh, so you can reset stats and skills, which will be pretty useful for us. Definitely need more leech and we need an insight. And, we also need cannot be frozen. That would be pretty useful. I keep on teleporting in instead of just laying down my lethargy. I need to adapt to that playstyle at the moment. I feel like even with the 4% life leash that we have at the moment, that sort of keeps us good enough. But yeah, we do need more mana. Mana is an issue. It's like, I think, probably at about 4% mana leech around there would be a lot smoother play. But this 2% isn't really cutting it at the moment. It's sort of interesting to consider that in some ways this is a end game gear. I mean, you have Enigma, you have Fortitude. The only thing you are really lacking right now are the rings in terms of leech and a bit of resistances and things like that. But yeah, a mercenary would be very useful as well. getting a Might Mercenary up and running. That would be quite beneficial. Stop burning all my mana. This feels very interesting at the moment. My mind just keeps on turning over thinking, what do all these changes mean? Where do we stand? Please be a nice ring. I've never been so hungry for a good ring. Nope, not what we're looking for. Definitely not what we are looking for. Give me an insight base. I'm wondering if we should even do Nightmare for an insight base, but I think we are fine in Howl at this point in time. I wonder if any people are going to really push in the PTR now to find some good gear and test some endgame setup. That would be quite interesting. But at the moment, I just want to test how these changes affected the Warlock at the current sort of gear level. I'm not looking to change the gear drastically, although I will definitely be making some changes, but it's just interesting to me what is going to work and not work right now for this. I don't know if you're noticing the same thing as me, but damage is doing perfectly fine. I mean, the only reason I'm not doing more damage is like I don't have the mana to sort of play around with as I would like. So we are definitely lacking in the mana, lacking in the sustain, and all of those sorts of areas. Definitely gonna need to get some potions, because this is one thirsty mofo. Thirsty character. I mean, even just buffing the character up, you use almost all of your mana just for that. Please be mana leech. Zombaz official. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream. So what do I think about the change to the Warlock? I am quite alright with it. I think the changes are quite well measured. I don't think they really messed anything up too much. I mean, if you can see right now, I think damage is sort of alright. Nothing spectacular, but nothing bad either. The damage is decent. I mean, right now I'm struggling with mana just because of the gear that I have more than anything else. So mana is a slight sort of concern or issue. But yeah, I think overall it's feeling good. I mean, I'm feeling like this is what the Warlock should have felt like, not how it was before. You're not getting that whole overkill feeling that you had before with the Warlock and Echoing Strike. I mean, literally at this insight, I mean not insight, this fortitude is not going to last very long, so I don't know what I'm going to do when this fortitude shits itself, but we're going to have to slap on another weapon. So they have changed a lot of the skills. It's not just Echoing Strike. They've changed some of the bugs with the Miasma skills. So they've changed the Miasma Cloud part of Miasma Bolt to not tick as fast as it was. They've changed Miasma Chains so that they cast instantly and don't have a delay, and there was a bug with the damage going on there. They've changed Sigil Lethargy so that it doesn't minus enemy physical resistance. So, yeah, you say there that the Warlock was OP with Echoing Strike and Mosaic was viable in the same ladder. Yeah, I mean, with the strength that Echoing Strike was, I think Mosaic would be comparable to it, and you could have had this both of them in the same ladder, and they would have been like two comparable builds. But I think both of those skills, builds, whatever you want to call it, were way too overpowered. So I think it's good that instead of having Mosaic and Echoing Strike in the same season, they should rather balance Echoing Strike and take Mosaic out or change Mosaic as well. So I think this is a better approach that they are doing right now, and it just seems like it's sort of in a better place, in my opinion. Yeah, Mosaic was way overpowered. Echoing Strike is also just way overpowered. I mean, Bound Demon combined with Echoing Strike and a couple of the other skills that were going on was just way too much. So, where it is sitting right now is a much better place. At least that's my opinion and in my sort of experience this far. So, let's do another cow run here. I really need to make an insight. That will change up a lot of how everything is feeling right now. So this character has good gear on. It's just lacking in its ring department of having life and mana steel. And the character is also just lacking right now because I think it requires insight to function optimally. So the PTR is only Warlock changes. They didn't make any changes to anything else other than the Herald system as well. So now doing Terror Zones and Heralds and dropping Sunder Charms and all of those changes have been implemented into the PTR, but they haven't changed skills on any of the other classes. So there's only been Warlock class skills, but there have been changes to the game in terms of Heralds and Terror Zones and all of that. So you should see a lot more Sunder Charms. I have heard that Heralds are incredibly tough at the moment. They're kind of one-shotting everyone, and they are very difficult to deal with. Yeah, that would be very nice for Necro. I definitely think that Blizzard will look at some other balance changes and updates, but I think obviously their focus is on the Warlock at the moment, and I think some other some other classes will get more love, but I think right now it's just focus on getting the Warlock in a good spot, because it was sort of grossly overpowered. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, it could be beneficial to consider that for the Necro as well. I think everything in due time. Maybe looking at all the classes as a whole would be quite a mammoth task at the moment, but I think that it's definitely should be on the cards, but you never know. I need to figure out getting a new weapon now because my fortitude is almost dead. So that's going to be a big change when I don't have a fortitude anymore. Need that roll rune. Let's go. I'm probably going to need this longsword or something similar just to have any weapon very soon. I'm really hoping to find some sort of polearm to help out. I'm also feeling a little peckish, like a snack is in order sometime soon. This is definitely going to be very interesting as soon as my fortitude breaks, how the damage is going to change for the Warlock. Superior War Scythe. 4 sockets. Okay. We need the ruins for insight now. Let's do a bit more cow, and then we will go and do some, I reckon, nightmare. Some nightmare countess runs, and then we can get ourselves an insight and then take things from there. I think once we get an insight, we will be in a much better position to gauge the strengths and weaknesses of the Warlock a bit better, because at the moment we are not being hampered by anything other than resource management. That is where we are sort of falling off at the moment. But also just thank you very much, Zombaz Official, for joining the live chat, the live stream. We are very keen on the PTR with the Warlock right now. I think this is going to be an epic test, and it's just going to be so exciting to check what's going on here. Ethereal Decapitator. Very interesting. I'm wondering if I should keep that Ethereal Decapitator. Maybe that's got to use. Just slap that in the stash quickly. Let's get that Decapitator. Continue slaying. Wow, mana is just not my friend right now. I'm quite interested at the setup that they gave you for Echoing Strike here, because they did very much give you endgame gear. It's just the rings that were lacking, and it kind of shows you like this is where you would be, but then also it lacks the basics to just allow you to play smoothly. So it's just a bit weird how they geared. Oh, weapon broken. That is where we are right now, with a broken weapon. Let's use this a bit. Don't die. So you see, even just with a white weapon, we are still killing whole cows, but we do have good gear in the other slots, so it's a bit of a interesting position that we are in right now. A very interesting position that we are in. It's like they give us all of this stuff to test, but then they are still wanting us to sort of take the reins and farm further to get items that will actually allow us to test the build. So, I mean, I'm not complaining. They did give us these pre-built characters, but it would be cool if there was, you know, a couple other considerations that they made. I won't lie to you, I'm very interested in Echoing Strike and the changes going on here, but I so badly want to play the Miasma build. That is where my heart is lying right now. No mana all the time. That is the story of this Warlock's life right now. It's just lacking in the mana department. Let's chug one of those. I think I'm going to kill this mob and then get going on the contest runs, because I can't stand how this is playing right now. I need some mana management. Okay, nightmare it is. Let's just get some potions quick. I'm excited. I will say that's probably the baseline feeling right now, is just one of extreme excitedness, because I was getting a bit despondent with how overpowered the Warlock was feeling, and just the state of the game because of how the Warlock was feeling. So now that it's in a more balanced place, at least for the PTR and for the time being, it just feels more permanent. It feels more like this is what the Warlock should have felt like. This is what it could feel like for the near future and the coming times, and it just feels better to me. Why do I keep on weapon swapping? Okay, so let's get our teleport on. What are the insight rune word runes? I can't even remember that. RotW tier soul. Is that correct? RotW tier soul. I need a tier and a tull. Please provide contest. I wonder if I should even run normal contest. I think nightmare should be good. So I feel like I'm only going to be able to really start gauging and feeling the changes that have been made once we get ourselves this insight rune word. And it's funny, even with all the changes that have gone on for the Warlock right now, insight is just as relevant as it was before. Maybe even more so. I think that many arguments were made if insight was the best in slot weapon for Echoing Strike in the current state of the game, and I think there's going to be even more arguments with how it feels now that insight is definitely up in the top choices for best in slot weapon. I personally think that is because of a mistake on Blizzard's part, which is allowing two-handers to be wielded with such ease and with such little penalty, because even just using grimoires and tomes, books, whatever you want to call it, you're still already so overpowered. That shouldn't be a consideration for the Warlock to be able to use such powerful two-handers and not have a penalty, or, you know, saying you can only use a book as a penalty, but then all the best in slot endgame builds use books anyway. So you're not really being penalized for that, only in the early game. So yeah, it's a really weird sort of state or position to be in. Tur and Shale, so what do we need? I think we only need a Tal'Darim. Do I have a Tal'Darim? Can't even remember. Oh, I clicked Howl instead of Nightmare. My life is a nightmare. What runes do we have? Ral, Tal, Tyr, Soul. Attack rating, that's a stat I haven't looked at in a long time. That is something that I need to get used to considering on gear when I pick it up now. If any of you watching right now are enjoying the content that we've been putting out recently and aren't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. That would be greatly appreciated, and we thank you so very much for all the support that you have shown so far. I'm having a ton of fun making this Diablo content, and I'm enjoying it so much, and any views and support and shares and likes and all of that stuff just really means a lot to me and goes a long way. And we've also actually recently made a membership to the channel, which is another way to support us. And if you feel like taking your support to a new level, then definitely consider joining up for membership on the channel. That will grant you access to member-only content, member-only live streams, early content, early access to content, all of that sort of stuff. So that's just my little shameless plug for the time being, just to keep you guys posted and up to date. I find it so interesting that they gave you an ethereal Fortitude Thundermaul that would only last half an hour in game. That was a very sort of comical choice by Blizzard to set you up for this PTR. That's really strange. I just realized now whilst playing that I'm not feeling this massive nerf to Echoing Strike like right now, or this massive what's the word I'm looking for? Downgrade. I'm not feeling like it does 1/10 of the damage that it used to. And I'm not trying to sort of say, I told you so, I told you so. But when I release my videos where, in my opinion, I advocated that that Obsession was the best in slot weapon for the Echoing Strike Warlock, I feel like my main sort of point and purpose behind those videos was showing you that damage is not the Echoing Strike Warlock's issue, and you do more than enough damage using Obsession, but you gain so many other stats from Obsession, like the resist, the faster cast rate, all of those really useful defensive and utility stats that outweigh the extra damage on top of the already overkilling that you are doing. That unnecessary amount of damage that, you know, I think we can make insight now, that you were just overkilling monsters and stacking damage unnecessarily on your build to the detriment of the build, because you kill a boss 0. whatever percent faster, but then everywhere else you're losing out on very important stats. So from a balanced character point of view, I think that Obsession, I still think in the current state of the game, Obsession was the best choice for Echoing Strike. And it just shows you that even now with like 5k damage, you're still blasting through hull content pretty easily. Yes, your other gear in the setup is pretty solid, but even with that being said, just having like a white weapon as your weapon for this build, a normal weapon, you can still do content really smoothly and really easily. And this build is still very strong in my opinion. I don't think by any means it's been slapped down. I think it is in such a good spot. I just quickly need to confirm insight rune word just so I don't mess this up. Rel tier Tal Sol. So I think I was correct in saying that. So I'm very lucky to have found those runes so quickly. So Rel tier. Where's my Tal rune? Tal Sol. So let's say I make this insight now. I'm not going to have a whole ton of damage, but I will have a bit of damage and good mana steal, and then at least I can upgrade to a better weapon soon. So I think this is the right play. I don't think I can make the rune word in my stash though, if I remember correctly. So I'm just going to have to make some space here. So what we got? Rel tier Tal Sol. Yay, we have an insight. We got level 16 meditation, critical strike only 2. Look, it is what it is, and I think now we're going to actually be able to feel how this whole build comes together and all of that. So let's check it out. I want to put... where do I want to put the stuff? Nah, it was actually... Let's just actually leave it as it was there. Okay, let's get into Hull. Our damage is at almost 4k. I think that is sort of... It's a bit of a mental thing to get over when you look at your sheet damage now being less than 4k. You think, wow, this is a substantial nerf that has occurred, and Echoing Strike has taken a big knock. But you go out and kill some monsters with that 4k damage, and you are very quickly realizing that 4k damage with the sort of output of the skill is plenty, and with the deadly strike that your character is doing and sort of everything else going on, you realize very quickly that you are not in a bad place at all with 4k damage. So with that fanaticism aura on, a ton of stuff in the stash. Let's check that out. I didn't see a ton of stuff in the stash. So what do you say? A ton of stuff in the stash, you just gotta go to the tab and click the button on the top. What button on the top? Am I missing something? Maybe I'm missing something. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Matt T437. Maybe I'm missing something there. I'm not sure. Where you say they gave you a bunch of stuff in the stash. Button on the top. Don't see anything. Anyway, I just want to check out how this insight is working out quickly. Shared. Yeah, I've gone to the shared tab, but I just haven't seen... I haven't seen anything in the shed tab here. Remove only. Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for showing that. That is pretty huge. That's exactly what I need. Oh, some nice little ruins there. Well, thank you very much, Matt T437. As you can see, guys, you get a ton of stuff in the stash here. So, yeah, use it at your discretion. This will help out with everything quite a bit. What else we got here? I think that's pretty much it. Haha, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. What was I going on? Yeah, basically what I was saying is that with this small amount of sheet damage that you have going on here, you are still outputting a ton of damage and more than you might realize. And look, we have 5k damage. Let's see how we do now quickly. So our mana is in a much better place. Our damage isn't huge, but we can easily deal with hull content here. I mean, it's not like the Eth Fortitude that we just had, but it's definitely decent. And this is without a merc and without an optimized bound demon, all of that sort of stuff. So even with insight, you still need a bit more leech than 2%, or at least a bit more damage to make your leech more effective. But having this insight is definitely way better than how it felt before just now. It's so crazy to feel how a bound demon is so weak now. It's like really not comparable to how it was before. So echoing strike damage output definitely still feeling good. Bound demon tankiness, damage output, all of that. That is a major change. Superior Cleaver. What rune word are we making in that? 2-socket. We're not making anything in that. I think what we'll do is today we'll focus on echoing strike a bit, and then this evening we will give the Miasma build a bit of a play, a bit of a go. Because I think that dynamically that is going to change quite a bit in how it plays and how you sort of use the build now. And I think maybe Miasma Chains could overtake Abyss as the sort of main skill. Or maybe it will still be supporting and supplementary to Abyss. I'm not quite sure yet. But I am keen to give it a go and to test it out. I think potentially also in terms of mana, if your attack rating is much higher, you'll also be gaining a lot of mana back. So that's also something just to consider there. So I mean, obviously the insight that we are using right now is in a normal base. It's not in an elite base or anything like that. And that is one of the reasons why our damage isn't, over the top. We're doing sort of a half the damage that we were earlier with that Fortitude. I mean, less than half, let's be honest. But yeah, it still works even in hull difficulty in this current setup. I would love a little bit more mana leech. I think we should also give the new Terra Zones a little test, because from what I've heard, those are extremely challenging when it comes to heralds at the moment. So let's see what this character can do with a herald. Feels weird to be playing Echoing Strike again after playing Miasma for so long. The key to Abitov. Why no Merc? I will be getting a Merc shortly. I actually should just go get a Merc right now. Thank you for being the motivation. You can use Hero Editor to make a tester and play it in alpha mode and test ROM. Yeah, definitely. I don't know what my apprehension against Hero Editor is. Like, I don't like playing edited heroes, even though this is a off-the-shelf pre-built hero. I don't have a lot of interest making edited heroes. I have in the past used it, and I do some testing on it, but I don't like doing like live streams and videos with edited heroes. It's like by far the most efficient way, but I mean, I'm not always about efficiency. And yeah, I'll definitely play around a bit with Pluggy and doing some offline single player testing, but just for the moment I'm just keen to sort of test out these pre-built characters as they have been presented and sort of set out by Blizzard at this point in time. So I'll do a bit of testing here, and then I will do a bit of testing in Hero Editor as well, but just not right now at this point in time. Yeah, what is your guys' thoughts of the PTR so far? Have you been able to play at all? What are you thinking? I'm testing it out. That's what I will say. I'm struggling to sort of give answers right now because everything is still sort of in it's in the very early stage for me. So to give a full answer on how I'm feeling is difficult, but I'm feeling positive. I will say that. Definitely feeling positive. So weird to have such a useless bound demon. And that's not a bad thing because it was so overpowered before, but it is just a very different feeling. So it seems like single target damage is not feeling fantastic at this point in time. But it's not all too bad either. What we got here? Ooh, life and mana steel. That is tasty. That is what I'm wanting. Maybe we use this for a little bit and then get insight to our mercenary. I think that could be an interesting thing. Yeah, Matt T. I've just got this. I've always done all of my sort of like build guides and stuff with realistic online Battle.net characters. I find it sometimes feels a bit cheesy to just do hero edited like showcases of builds and gear that like the gear is so perfect that yeah, it's just unrealistic in a lot of ways. And I guess like PTR is for testing, and if you use Hero Editor, you can sort of do the most testing as quickly as possible. but I just sometimes quickest isn't the most fun for me. I'm like interested in this whole approach they've taken to these pre-built characters and all of that. So that is sort of what, at least for the first day now, I'll be testing and playing around with. So let's get ourselves a mercenary. What are we looking at here? That's true. That is a very good point as well, that you can just make the gear realistic in editor itself. I mean, I guess that just takes self-control, because it is difficult to be realistic sometimes, but yeah. Okay, let's give this guy an insight. Hope he survives. We need a helm with some life leech for him. That would be useful. Just checking what else we got going here. Hexfire. Okay, time to get some potions. I think we need to go hunt some heralds. I think that is the current goal. So, what are we going to... Should we do Act 1? Maybe let's do Act 1, just because it hopefully will be a little easier. I'm very apprehensive to gauge the power of these heralds now. So, Act 1, where are we gonna go? Jail, Black Marsh. Okay, team, let's go. We got 6k damage. We are gonna slay. So they are cursed. That is quite a... I mean, right now, using this weapon that has mana and lifesteal, mana is already feeling in a much better place. I think you just need enough mana and lifesteal to start feeling decent with this build. Armor in. Pulver in. That's nice. They definitely upped the drop rates for the PTR, right? I am pretty sure they upped the drop rates, because it always seems like when you play a PTR, you just get so many runs and so many items, and just everything is so much faster. But yeah, in this Terror Zone, everything seems to be going swimmingly. Let's see when we encounter a herald what it will be like, but I'm imagining good things. So for those physical immunes now, Hex Bane is going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us. I mean, Hex Purge. Oh, don't die. Don't die, you little bastard. Yeah, we're going to be getting that extra damage from Hex Purge, and hopefully that damage is enough to kill off those physical immunes for us. Because we no longer have Sigil Lethargy, and we don't really have a reliable source of damage proc. It would be interesting now if... what was I going to say? Oh, if using Reaper's Toll and things like that would maybe be a good option for the Echoing Strike Warlock. So yeah, with mana becoming or being more under control right now, that is definitely helping how the build is playing a lot. 4 sockets, 6 sockets. Not making Breath of the Dying there. Demonite armor. There you go, a little bit of armor for you. Small drum. Cryptic axe. If only you had a bunch of sockets in you, that would be useful. Catacombs. Where them heralds at? My Merc needs some life leech now. He is struggling. I really want to encounter a herald. Maybe I need to go to Act 2 or something like that. As in tombs, lots of monsters. Lots of density. Even at 8k damage right now, this is feeling like very fair damage in my opinion. And I mean, that is with not at all the best weapon by any means. It's amazing, in my opinion, how sort of quickly I feel like I get bored of Echoing Strike. It just feels like I've been playing Echoing Strike forever, which isn't necessarily the case, but it just is not as pleasing to play as Miasma is, in my opinion. So, is that a physical immune? No, just stone skin. Let's go resurrect that Merc.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I do hear where you're coming from. It's a weird spot because it's like you don't have the best weapon, but then all your other gear is very solid. So it's hard to get an accurate judging of everything because you have like kind of close to best in slot gear everywhere else, and then not a great weapon. So it's kind of offset and balances in that sense. But yeah, it's like the more of what we are looking at and saying, the more a hero edited character almost seems like the realistic way to gauge everything. Okay, so we have a herald. We do, right? Yeah, there he is. So apparently heralds just one-shot you and are super tough at the moment. Okay, so we took out that herald. Not too bad. It did give me a fright when it popped out, but wasn't anything too bad. At least the Bind Demon, I mean, it is that type of demon, which is a herder, or whatever you want to call it, which is already quite a tough demon, but it is surviving pretty well. So another herald here. That herald went down alright. Nothing too major. Our resistances are very low, so I am playing very cautiously. Yeah, so 2 heralds down, not the scariest thing so far. We'll see what a level 5 herald is like, though. I wish my work would survive a bit better. Useless. Eldritch, 6 lifesteal. I'll keep that just in case I need some extra lifesteal somewhere. At some point. Pull rune, soul, shell, towel. 20 to life. Don't really need it, but we'll keep it anyway. Let's see, outer cloister. See if we can spawn a couple more heralds here. Fanaticism. So if I remember correctly, now you can kill any monster and there's a chance to spawn a herald. It doesn't need to be an elite or champion pack. Why must my merc die? That makes me want to cry. Well, I feel like I don't feel like dealing with mana issues, so merc, you're gonna have to come help me. Yes? Razan. Get through. I'm wondering, just out of interest, an Eth cryptic axe. Everything I've been finding is Eth. How much durability does this thing have? 15 out of 21, so definitely not a permanent weapon for us. I'm really enjoying the life and mana leech on that weapon, but it's not gonna stick around for all that long, unfortunately. What am I feeling? What are my thoughts right now? My thoughts are that I'm liking how Echoing Strike is feeling. My thoughts are that this is a bit of a weird gear setup, because I'm trying to imagine what would be the best weapon, what would be the best rings. I want to try a bit of Act 2 Terrorized. Let's see, what do we have here? Act 5, Act 1, Act 4, 2. Where's Act 2? Come on, Act 2. There. Let's test out Act 2 there. I just want to feel this with a bit more density and just a bit more monsters. It's so nice to have your mana rejuvenate like that with the right amount of leech and insight. So like with this bad weapon that I'm using right now, the damage output is feeling pretty decent. So there's definitely a lot of room for improvement with the weapon, but overall it's still doing decently as if the skill has enough damage. But then again, I do have an inventory full of skillers and also lifer skillers. It's hard to gauge. That is sort of what I'm feeling at the moment. It's very hard to gauge. So Matt T, like you say, Raven would be a good ring. I agree with you there. I think although cannot be frozen isn't 100% necessary, it's definitely a nice to have. But then the attack rating and dex that is provided by Ravenfrost, I think, will be pretty nice for the build in general. The only thing with using Ravenfrost is getting your leech on your gear in sort of where you want it. So as long as you can get your leech where you need it, then Ravenfrost would definitely be a good consideration and a good fit for a ring. Knoxville. If I play my single-player character on PTR, will it be an issue? I don't believe it will be an issue because the PTR server is like a completely separate server. So you need to download the PTR server, and if you have a single-player character and then you play it on that server, it's completely separate to the actual Diablo 2 Resurrected servers. So I believe you can play your character with no changes to your actual single player character. So definitely go ahead and do that. And welcome to the live stream as well, Mr. Knoxvillain. My Merc is just not surviving, but then again, I don't blame him either. I must say, this whole weird thing of where your herald spawn, which is like right on top of you as you're killing monsters, it's a bit of a weird mechanic and a bit of a not well thought out in my opinion. I don't think they should spawn right on top of you. That doesn't seem great. I need my Merc. I need my Bound Demon. This is not cool. Let me see if I can sort something out there quickly. Yeah, that Herald is a bit of a challenge with no Bound Demon and no Mercenary. I think that is one of the massive changes we are experiencing now, is you no longer have that unkillable meat tank in front of you with your Bound Demon, and your Mercenary is starting to feel like it used to feel before Reign of the Warlock, where you need to really play to keep your Mercenary alive, unless... Why did I just do that? Unless it has the right gear. So there's a lot more thought processes going on here. There's a lot more decisions to make. I just need to get myself a Bound Demon quickly. What have I put that on? Let me put that on mine. Where you at, demons? Yeah, there's a lot of sort of thoughts now regarding... And there goes my Merc again. Lovely stuff. Come on. This whole new method of binding demons and sort of the way everything is set up is way more challenging than it used to be. Damn it. Give me a bound demon.
I can't carry anymore. I am overburdened.
Did I kill that thing in one shot? Damn it. I mean, you, just as a note, you see that you still kill monsters in one shot in the current sort of state of things. Are we even able to get a bound demon? Or maybe I can't get these ones because they are the adds to an elite demon. Maybe that is what's going on there. Damn you. Damn yous all to hell. Damn it! This is so difficult. Maybe I'm just being stupid, but I only want to hit them a little bit, so I'm trying to spread out my attacks. Come on. I don't want to use a TP because I got my TP open in Act 2. Let me go and get some potions. Let me try get those bind demons again. Binding demons. Interesting thing here. I feel like potentially if the PTR changes go through, then binding demon just becomes quite a slog. Yeah, that herald seemed to do quite a substantial amount of damage. There we go, we got a demon. Just anything to help tank a little bit better. Okay, so he's got Vigor Aura. That's actually kind of cool. We'll see how that all pans out, but we have a bound demon with Vigor Aura. Yeah, that's also very interesting in terms of trying to get a demon that will have Holy Freeze and Cursed, like, and then keep that demon alive on top of all of that. It will be... Okay, let's try get this guy. Herald of Fear. So now it seems like the Bind Demon is tanking relatively well. Yeah, heralds are something. They definitely, I mean, heralds used to melt, and sort of understandably so, but now they are much more of a threat. What amulet we got here? Interesting stuff. That herald was much more of a challenge than anticipated. I think it's also just because he killed all my homies. So, Nox Villain. So I played my Warlock single player lock on single player PTR. It does really well. Max binding. Put one to into play drop nurse and say Hex Bane, a snag, the first curse. Nice. Yeah, I'm not surprised that you say nice. That's good to know, good to hear. I'm not surprised that you say that your Warlock is doing well, because just from what I can feel going on here and my predictions of the changes that they were suggesting, I think that the Warlock is still going to do ample amounts of damage and still have a good enough kit in terms of its skills that it has available to be tanky enough, to be survivable. Just, I think it's going to be very well-rounded if they keep these changes that they mentioned, and I think they're not going to have to adjust the damage too much either way, from what they have sort of put together here so far in the PTR. Unfortunately, I don't have a single player character at the moment. I should have actually anticipated that, but the PTR did sort of come quite suddenly, and it would have been cool to have started my solo self-found Warlock and be able to play it a bit in the PTR, but obviously that didn't happen. But that's good to hear that your Warlock is doing good on player 7 even. That's great to hear. And I think I'm quite glad that all the naysayers will be sort of silenced in the fact that this nerf isn't sort of the burial of the Warlock. I mean, this is just the beginning, I think, of the Warlock's development as a character. So yeah, I've also heard that Fire Warlock is feeling the best at the moment, and I mean, to be honest, I'm not quite sure why Fire Warlock would feel the best, because there weren't many changes for Apocalypse and Flame Wave in the end game, and the other changes to the sort of demons and skill trees weren't like that sort of affecting to Fire Warlock. But I mean, if it is the best, that's kind of like a cool shift, because it definitely wasn't the best build in the current state of the game. But I have been hearing that Fire Warlock is definitely in a strong, good spot at the moment, so that's kind of cool. And a lot of people have been saying that Flame Ring of Fire doesn't feel as weak as what Frost Nova does. So that's good, because I thought when they said it's going to do similar damage to Frost Nova, that would make it feel completely unusable. But that's good to hear that it is still doing well. I think this is decent damage. My weapon is going to break soon, however, so I will have to change up weapon again. But hopefully I'll find something here. I'm interested to encounter another herald and see how that feels. But yeah, I'm sort of on the search for a weapon that's not ethereal, that will last for a bit of testing here. That is quite a huge change, the durability usage, and ethereals becoming sort of more of a backseat option. I mean, I don't think the weapon damage loss from ethereal is major. It should only be about just over 10% or so, because there's so much flat damage being added by Echoing Strike. So I mean, yeah, at the moment there's about 700 flat damage being added to Echoing Strike, which is compared to, I believe my Echoing Strike Warlock had like 5,000 flat damage added to it in the current state of the game before the PTR, so that is a substantial change, but again, it doesn't feel in reality and in playing as big as it feels on paper when they say that that is the reduction in damage that it's going to receive. What am I doing? I feel like I'm not figuring out what Don't kill my merc. Don't kill my merc. I need to get used to using Sigil Lethargy more often. It felt so useless using Sigil Lethargy other than on bosses in the previous state of the game, because you'd kill everything so quickly that laying down a sigil before attacking was just a waste of time, where now it is actually quite necessary for the attack rating, your chance to hit and all that. I mean, I can definitely tell that... Okay, there goes the weapon. I can definitely tell that attack rating is quite important at the moment, but it wasn't quite as big of a feeling that I first initially thought it would be. I'm just going to use this decapitator whilst we find another weapon, because that is our issue at the moment. No, not my merc. Again. Again. I'm gonna have no more gold left for my merc very soon. I'm interested to see the comparison between Fire Warlock and Miasma Warlock now. I think it's going to be a lot sort of closer in its dynamic and feel than what it was in the current sort of state of game. I think what feels nice now is that Echoing Strike isn't just the be-all, end-all, it's just another build and another alternative. I think there's still, with the right gear, a lot of potential for Echoing Strike to be one of the best and one of the better builds, but I think it's no longer a case of slapping on any old gear and Echoing Strike being extremely powerful. I think now there's a lot more decisions and thought behind the process, as well as wealth in terms of getting good gear in order to make Echoing Strike a top performer, because you're definitely going to need some decent gear to get the most out of it. I think it will still be powerful on the playthrough and still be powerful in your start of Hull and playing through your initial farming of Hull, but it's not going to be at all as overpowered as it was before, where you could start farming any area of Hull with very little gear. I wonder why this demon seems so tough, my bound demon, like uncharacteristically tough. Wow, mana without insight is quite a thing. Give me those mana potions. Where's the best spot for me? River of Flame. To find some gear right now. Well, not gear, I just need a weapon. I wonder if maybe I should do some cow runs to make a decent insight. Maybe that is an idea. If I could get any four-socketed elite weapon, that would be very useful. Four-socketed elite polearm weapon. I mean, that would either help my merc greatly or me. So, did I do a car run in this game already? I can't remember. I don't think so. feeling good. I think Bound Demon, I haven't obviously played with it sort of extensively yet right now, but I think that it's going to feel nice and powerful when you can bind super uniques. It's going to feel nice and powerful when you can bind uniques. So from level 15 onwards in terms of hardpoint investment to Bound Demon, I think it's going to feel in a good spot. I mean, it's not the 1-point wonder that it once was, but it is still going to be a very powerful and very strong skill. I mean, compared to any of the other summoning skills in the game, it still has a lot of value and is unique in its offerings as well from what you can gain from the demons that you do bind. So, I mean, again, there were massive changes to Bind Demon, and it's in a very different position to what it once was, but I still think it's in a good place, and again, just requires careful thinking and decisions as to when you start investing points into it, how many points you invest into it, and how you use it with the rest of your build. I haven't really noticed the potion difference just yet. But I mean, that's going to be something you'll notice a lot more in the playthrough and sort of early on progression. Its leg. I feel like there's so much thought going on in my mind right now about how I'm feeling about everything with this patch. The overall thoughts are good, but the other thought is that there's just so much testing that I still would like to and want to do. So that is kind of what I'm feeling right now. I want a weapon. It was so nice to have that extra leech on that weapon that broke just now. That's definitely something I want a bit more of, is some solid leech. Why you gotta do my merc like that? Why you gotta do my merc like that? Well, I guess we revive him again if we can afford it. It felt like every warlock in the current state of the game was a demon warlock with only 1 point in each skill, and then an echoing strike warlock on top of that, or a miasma warlock or a fire warlock on top of that. It felt like every warlock was hybrid demon and something else, and I'm glad that that isn't just the sort of generic feeling of it now. It feels like demons are something you need to specialize or invest in, and not just a automatically overpowered and powerful tool. My weapon is hampering me somewhat right now. That about partisan. Maybe that partisan is a weapon for me. I wish my merc could survive. That's why I feel like I want to insight to self-wield, because putting it on the merc if he's just dying every 2 seconds is not really doing anyone any favors. 6. What mana steal? Let's slap that on. Even having much less damage with this partisan that I just slapped on, but having a ton of mana leech makes it feel so much better. I'd rather have slower kill speed and all this leech than have it the other way around. I'm keen to try out Ubers. That's definitely going to be an interesting one. That's going to be quite a challenge, I think. I wonder if mirrored blades and some crushing blow and that sort of thing will be a lot more applicable and important. I think some good leech, life tap, all of that stuff is probably going to be required now, or potentially. I've probably got about another 15 minutes left of this live stream, just to give you guys some forewarning and fair warning. I very much enjoyed hanging out and playing a bit of this PTR. It's really got the theory crafting juices flowing right now, and sort of I've got a lot of questions that need answering and testing, and just a lot of thought. I mean, one of my main questions is what is going to be sort of the best weapon options for Echoing Strike now, because I do think there will be a fair amount of good options and solid options, and I think that it's not just going to be like one clear best in slot winner, kind of how it was before. I think there's going to be a few good options out there. So I'm interested to sort of get a bit of ideas going on what's going to be a good option for weapons. Because the rest of the gear, I feel like we have a clearer and better understanding of what might work well or not. But when it comes to weapons, I think that's a big unknown right now, currently, at this point in time. Having this extra mana leech is very welcome, like I said. It's definitely playing smoother and better this way. Like, it's actually way better having this leech than even having insight on your merc. So, you know, merc insight is not even that important. I would focus on getting like at least like 5% leech, but then again, my opinion will change with a different and better weapon option. So we'll just have to see about that. I'm glad to see that the Bound Demon is surviving relatively well. I mean, I do have quite a fair amount of all skills and bonus skills, but the demon is surviving, which is comforting to see. I mean, I think even with the nerfs that have gone on, it's still a force to be reckoned with and a contender. You know, it's a solid option as a skill dump and a solid option as a tanky front line for these more ranged and caster style builds for the Warlock. I mean, compared to a not well geared Merc, I'd definitely take a bound demon as a meat tank over that. And this Vigor aura is quite nice to play with as well. I mean, I don't think it's by any means the best aura to have, but I'm definitely enjoying it, and it's nice at this point in time. Colossus Volge, if only it had 4 sockets. What is the socket recipe again? I can't remember that right now. Roll PME. That's it. I think I have that. Let's see if we can... Oh no, I don't have a perfect amethyst. I only have a flawless. But when I get a PME, let's see if I can... well, hopefully I'll find a base by then anyway. Ah, Shade Stash, indeed. Indeed. I'll go have a look there now. Right now I'm just sitting here trying to gauge the damage output, gauge my feelings accordingly. I still feel like it's good. Definitely good. I'm just interested with optimal gear or lesser gear, if it will still feel adequate. Another thing I'm super curious about is potentially respecking now and playing a little bit of Miasma, but I'll save that for this evening. I will try and be as disciplined as possible. So on roll we have... I don't have a roll rune. Gotta wait for that. Maybe there's one in that shed. Yeah. Do we get 4 sockets? What am I looking for? 4 sockets, there we go. Oh, but now I need the runes for insight. Roll, Tull, Tier, Soul. So we got a Soul. Tull. We need a Tier rune. Do we not have an extra roll there? Extra roll. W. What is W? Let's do a little nightmare contest. I'm lucky I got 4 sockets on that insight base. Very lucky indeedio. The one thing about insight that I'm wondering as a good weapon option is its lack of what is costing so much to repair. 162,000. No, thank you. No, thank you at all. How much gold do I even have? Not a lot at all. Oh yeah, definitely solid getting those 4 sockets there. What am I doing? Yeah. On the hunt for a roll rune. I think I should go and get that insight off of my merc. But the thing is, then I need to resurrect them, which is all of my money. Thank you for sticking around in the chat there, Matt T. Appreciating the chat and support. I hope it refreshes. I'm actually going to check that. Yeah, I'll check that out now, actually. Let's give that a try. It does seem like it should, just in terms of it, like, having, like, one of everything. I'm snackish, I'm peckish, I need something to nibble on. I also need to pick up my daughter from school very shortly. Let's just check how, doesn't matter. It's nice doing a stream in the day. Oh, it does look like it refreshes. Clever again, Mr. Matt T. You are an asset. So what are we doing? Roll Tull Tier Soul. Roll Tier Tull Soul. Almost messed that up. Roll Tier Tull Soul. What was actually on this partisan? It was just Mana Steel, I think, yeah. So 15 meditation, 1 critical strike. Not the best. I mean, I guess we could re-roll that. But what's our damage sitting at? That's something important. like I was mentioning just now, I still don't think that having insight over having a good amount of mana leech is better. I think having more mana leech could likely be the better of the two. Curious about Blood Boil. Welcome to the stream, Psychiatric Parfums. I am also very curious about Blood Boil, and I'm also in many ways quite apprehensive, or I'm not very hopeful for Blood Boil, because it seems like those nerfs that they have done are not likely very good. I think it's going to have such sort of single target radius that it's going to be difficult to play. I definitely will be testing it out, but I just have bad feelings for it. I want to see if I thought my Merc had Might Aura. It does have Might Aura. Let's see if that kicks in what our damage gets to. So we're currently at 6k damage. Let's see if that gets any better. Even with the skin sight, mana is still needing a bit more in terms of reach. I'm quite sad that they made those changes to Blood Boil, because it felt like such a solid build before that now, and it wasn't a threat to anything. It was a nice solid A-tier build that had cool potential, a fun playstyle, and now it just doesn't like exist anymore. And I'm saying that without testing it, I understand that, but that's my feeling, is that they've just really just sort of wiped it out of existence. That is scary how the heralds just appear out of nowhere. At least my tank is tanking decently there. The heralds seem to have quite a fair bit of health. I mean, you could look at it one way, that they have quite a bit of health, or my damage isn't all that fantastic. So take of it what you will. I mean, it has been mentioned that their health is comparable to like Bale and stuff like that, which kind of feels that way. But so far, it's feeling interesting. Hello, Mad Max. Nice to hear from you again. Been a little while. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be streaming for a whole lot longer, but very nice of you to join the stream. And good to have you back. Yeah, heralds are feeling very different in terms of fighting them. It's not like this cakewalk that it was previously. It's feeling a bit more challenging. It's also feeling a bit more scary with just how they spawn right on top of you. And I quite like the idea of how they are spawning, just because of the fear factor of the whole encounter. It's nice to feel scared in the game when something happens, or at least feel a bit of excitement, like a little bit of a dopamine kick even. But it is, I can imagine, for hardcore players, going to lead to some very angry, untimely deaths with the spawning of heralds, how they've set it up now. And yeah, it's... I wonder what they could change about the spawning to make it different. Hey Frank Ultra, yo yo yo. how is it going? Hope you are well. I don't know why my Bound Demon's AI seems a bit, like, not as good. Oh, no mana. Well, that's a common trend. What a weird feeling right now. Feeling good about the state and feeling apprehensive about it as well. I want to encounter another herald just to feel again how that sort of plays out, because that's one area that I'm feeling quite a bit of like reserved feelings on. I think the heralds have quite a lot of life, but I do think that encountering heralds should feel scary and like something is actually going on. So, for instance, this herald spawn right now, it was like right next to me, almost on top of me, and that felt pretty scary. And as a hardcore player, I can imagine it feeling legitimately scary. Where is my... Did I just consume my demon? I think I did. I was trying to push F6 for what is this skill? Engorge, but I wasn't pushing F6, I was pushing something else. Yeah, Herald health is quite a lot. I'm not feeling that whole one-shot vibe that a lot of people mentioned, that it feels like Herald's just one-shot you now. But they are feeling like they have a ton of life, or health, or hit points. So, yeah, those hit points are making it feel like it's a much more of a prolonged fight. Yeah, Mad Max, I did break that Thunder Maul very quickly. It was a very interesting choice by Blizzard to hand you off one of those as your as your starting weapon, because yeah, it does not last very long. It's like kind of like, cool, yeah, let's get going, and then your weapon breaks and you're like, okay, what's next? So yeah, I broke the Thunder Maul and I made myself an insight. Luckily I rolled 4 sockets and got an insight there. I wonder, are there any Howl Ruins in that little stash tab, because it would be nice to re-roll this insight. I need to build up some gold. Where are we? Shared tab. Do we have Howl Ruins? Yeah, I also agree. Concentration Herald is going to be a scary one. I don't know what to do about that, because I like the fact that they like kind of spawn on top of you, but I also think it's not a nice mechanic, especially for hardcore, so I'm like 50-50 for that. Yeah, I don't see any Howl Ruins, which is unfortunate, and one thing that I definitely need is a little bit of gold. I'm running out rather quickly. But I'm also sort of getting very close to needing to stop for the afternoon, which I'm not happy about, but wow. Need some more leech. Yeah, if it is extra strong and has might or fanaticism, what comes real? That is a combination for disaster right there, what you're mentioning. And I think that could potentially make a lot of people pretty sad. Um, I almost think right now, I wonder if you can cube up to Hull. You probably could cube up to Hull by saving and exiting a bunch of times in that. I'm sure that would work. But I mean, also re-rolling the insight isn't going to be like some night and day difference power boost. So how necessary that is right now. Maybe we'll do it a little bit later. Just getting a little extra gold here. Any little bit helps. Red gold, more gold. Cubing up to Hull, I think, would take a little bit of time, but it would definitely be useful. In the Carolina Colorado, these two hells have 2 damage orders. Yeah, I can't sort of like 100% recall off the top of my head if I have, but I'm pretty certain I have, and I definitely have had moments that it feels like there have been double damage auras, and it definitely feels like concentration aura seems to spawn pretty frequently. That's probably my most sort of experienced aura that I've seen spawning on heralds. This Warlock is feeling very different. I'm glad they are deciding and starting to implement these balance changes on the Warlock early, because I think it would feel even more weird to people if they let it carry on being so overpowered for much longer and then decide to do changes, because then you'd just get way too used to the power level, where now we've only had 2 months of this insane power level, that if it was prolonged exposure to a character of that magnitude, everyone's sort of feelings for nerfs would get out of control, in my opinion. So I think bring on the balance sooner rather than later. That's not by no means a great aura, but I am enjoying the vigor aura right now. It can feel useful, which is cool. I'm only going to be playing for about another 10 minutes, so I'm trying to decide what I still feel like doing with this character right now. I think this evening I'm likely going to be doing just Miasma build and that sort of stuff, but right now it's Echoing Strike. Season, that is exactly what it is. It's the season of the Warlock right now, and I think we're going to get back to the season of Diablo in a couple of seasons. Right now they need to work out all this balancing and all of that, but yeah, definitely it's the season of the Warlock right now. Welcome, Pookie Hoyts. I'm fine with every change except the TZ statue drops. Now they aren't even important. Well, firstly, I agree with you that I'm also fine with all the changes that they are implementing. I think as a whole, this PTR is in a better spot than what the current season is. And I personally felt like making it so that any act bosses, whether terrorized or not, could drop statues. I thought that kind of ruined the special feeling of dropping a statue. I felt like I didn't like it how you farmed statues before, but I don't like it how easily they are farmed now. So I'm still trying to think of, in my opinion, what would be the best middle ground, but at least where it is right now, I don't think that is fantastic, because I think there's just going to be a flood of statues. And Mad Max, like you are mentioning now, I definitely agree with that as well. That being forced to do bosses during the Terror Zone runs was not cool. Like, I don't like to be forced into farming specific areas at specific times. That's not like the way I enjoy playing. But I do think that how it currently is set up isn't great either. So I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one right now. I'm quite interested to see the sort of change to the ancients and see what they feel like now. That should be quite interesting. Maybe we should give them a bash. I just realized that I should have bound one of those champions, because now I've got 10 points into Bind Demon and I haven't bound a champion yet, so I definitely should have bound one of those champions. That's a new mindset shift that I haven't quite grasped yet, is that I can only bind up to champions and I haven't bound a champion yet. I'm starting to think that consuming a goat man and putting hard points into demonic mastery is maybe not as good as having a level 15 bind demon, at least at this current stage of where this hero is right now. I think having the ability to bind a champion could be quite a bit better, so I'll probably respec that shortly. I feel like my overall feeling is just happy that this is the direction that the game is going and the Warlock changes are going. But I'm also just trying to gauge, is this feeling good? I'm very glad of the direction and glad of the changes implemented so far and sort of the degree of changes, but is it feeling good? I'm tending towards yes, but I also have a bit of reservations that I think a little more testing will hopefully give a clearer picture and answer to that. I mean, I'm enjoying myself regardless, and I think that is the important part. And in some ways, it feels like it was awesome getting the Warlock in the recent expansion, and now it almost feels like we're getting the Warlock again for a second time, because now it's got so many changes to it that it's going to be left quite different. It's not going to be the same as it was before, so it's nice that we're getting the Warlock twice, so to speak. Hey, David Krieger. How can you enjoy the changes? You're fully geared, inventory full of charms, you can barely kill anything on player one on terrorists. It looks horrible. The thing is, I don't call this fully geared necessarily. I think it has what appears to be some best-in-slot gear, but the way everything synergizes together isn't necessarily how it would play out properly optimized, because I think your weapon and your rings will very much dictate the feel of the character. And I understand there's a torch and Annie skillers with life, all of that stuff, but yeah, the character is not optimized by a long shot or by any means. And I think with some optimization, the character will feel good and just not nearly as overpowered as before. I think you'll still be able to get maybe mid-teens to maybe even 20,000 damage with Echoing Strike with the right setup, but I just don't think that this is a accurate representation right now. I think, with some hero editing and really actually optimizing, you will probably be in a decent spot. I am still undecided whether this level or amount of damage is appropriate. I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot in it. That's my personal take on it. And I mean, yeah, maybe it has gone a bit far. Like I said, I don't have an answer for that just yet, but it is only a PTR, which is something to remember. I mean, that is why I'm doing a chaos run like this right now, because yeah, I'm trying to gauge against things that I know. Good morning to you, good afternoon to me here in South Africa, but either way, welcome to the stream. And yeah, so maybe a little bit too much. That could definitely be a possibility, that it has been sort of adjusted too far one direction. Just one thing to note though, Eth weapons will only realistically add 10 or 20% more damage, because the skill provides a lot of flat damage, which is one of the biggest factors in the damage output that it does. That the extra 50% enhanced damage you're getting from being ethereal is actually quite a small portion of the overall picture and damage that the skill is doing. So I think they could very well bring ethereal weapons back, just because the damage doesn't then bring it into overpowered territory. But I think what making ethereal weapons being used again, let me try and sort of articulate this. I think that allowing ethereal weapons to be used allows for certain weapons to be used that then again push the power balance too far in one direction, if that makes any sense. But I think they could very well bring back... No mana again. They could very well bring back ethereal weapons, and it wouldn't shift the balance of damage all too far one way. Yeah, Grief would be a very interesting weapon. The flat damage on Grief, maybe with a Phoenix shield offhand, that could be a very viable option. I mean, I guess the one thing with Grief is you wouldn't need to do it in a phase blade, because the attack speed wouldn't really be necessary, because obviously it uses FCR for Echoing Strike. So maybe Grief in a different base would be good instead of in a phase blade. Mad Max, when you mentioned there with physical damage charms, yes, you'll get to the 20k, I think. Might need some Hex pre-buff gear. Yeah, that is also a consideration. I am reserved in giving a definitive opinion right now. I feel like there's so many elements to consider. Like, this is pretty geared. I'd say your inventory is the most overpowered part of this build right now. I mean, yes, you have Enigma and a great diadem. That's Hostel Mephistos is also great in this slot. But I mean, all these other pieces of gear, it's good, but optimized, I don't know. I'm glad that there's so much still questions in terms of optimization. Um, I know that grief didn't work in the current state of the game. Somehow the flat damage wasn't being added. But whether they are fixing that in the new PTR and patch, I'm actually unsure. Maybe they do fix that grief's flat damage does work, because I know that was tested very early on in the release of Reign of the Warlock, whether grief was a good option for Echoing Strike, and everyone came back and said that grief's flat damage isn't actually applying with Echoing Strike, and in which case grief wasn't very powerful, obviously, if the flat damage doesn't come into effect. I mean, that's its main claim to fame. So I wonder if that will be changed. If it is changed, I do think that grief could be a very viable and solid option, but if it's still broken, then obviously it's not going to work out. I must say that Chaos run that I was doing now was not feeling very strong at all, but I'm also feeling like mana is being a bit more of an issue than anything else right now. I wonder if also we were so used to Mana Leech feeling so alright because of the amount of damage we were doing previously. I mean, if we were doing 10 times damage, we should be leeching back a lot more mana. When now it seems like your sort of resource management is a bit more difficult, or at least with the gear setup that I have now. I mean, 2% mana stolen per hit, not very fantastic. And with a better ring there, I think that could change quite dramatically. How do we do against this little shyster? What was the weapon they gave you to test? It doesn't look like an insight. So this is an insight that I'm using now. The weapon they give you to test is an Eth Fortitude Thundermaul. So great damage, great stats, but it is ethereal, so in the first half an hour of play, it is busted and you need to find another weapon. So that was a very interesting choice for them to pick the Eth Fortitude as your starting weapon for this. Welcome to the live stream, Wizzy. It is not Players 8. I am just playing online at the moment. This isn't Players 8 or single player or anything like that. The Phase Blade for no repairs, that is a clever approach in that regard. That's quite cool. I didn't think of it from that aspect or that perspective. Yeah, you do have less mana than with Spirit, with the Oz, the Mephistos. Bigger mana pool makes this character better. That is very true. I think if you had 500 to 700 mana, which you sort of seem to have easier with in the current sort of set of the game, or setup of the game, a bigger mana pool definitely does make a big difference to the Warlock and to this build in particular. I think right now how this is set up, my mana pool is pretty dismal. It's abysmal. It's not a good amount of mana to have with a build that is this mana hungry. So again, like, I could slot on that Stone of Jordan, but I need the lifesteal there right now. I mean, maybe even potentially Maybe the Stone of Jordan will help a tiny bit, but then we take off High Lords. We put on this with Life Leech, and then we put a Stone of Jordan over there. I mean, we gain a little bit of mana, but whether it's enough to actually make a tangible difference, I'm not sure. Yeah, hard points into energy. I mean, to be 100% honest, for every class in Diablo, you should be able to get around putting hard points into energy, in my opinion. You shouldn't ever, unless it's very early game on a playthrough, you shouldn't have to put hard points into energy. So I don't think that's necessarily the answer here. Yeah, I personally wouldn't want to have to put hard points into energy. With the resist that I have at the moment, this is feeling pretty dangerous. At least also from my perspective, I mean, there is so much focus on Echoing Strike, but Echoing Strike isn't the whole Warlock. I mean, the Warlock is more than just Echoing Strike. I also think that, this is only the 75% break point. I think the build would feel a lot better on that 125 break point. That's really what I enjoyed playing the Echoing Strike Warlock on, is that 125 breakpoint. R.I.P. R.I.P. Yeah, those resistances were pretty shocking. I'm playing Players 1, not Players 8. I'm just playing online. Yeah, I think sort of let's wrap up this stream. I have been streaming for a couple hours and need to pick up my daughter and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, where are we wrapping up this? We're using an insight. We have that other gear that they've given us and made a few tiny adjustments. I mean, you got a fantastic inventory here and decent gear, pretty good gear, and you are feeling a little bit squishy, a little bit lacking in damage, not by a huge margin, but yeah, Echoing Strike is in an interesting position. I don't think it's nerfed into the ground by any means, but I think it takes a lot more thought and a lot of good decisions to get it into a good place. I'm still trying to figure out now what would be the best sort of gear options, skill options, things like that. But we'll definitely dive further into that as the PTR and the week progresses. I don't have all the answers yet, but it is in an interesting place. I don't think it's in the trash, in the toilet, but I do think that it needs some gear to get going. It does need some thought to get going properly. It's not how it was before. The Warlock is different to how it was before. Echoing Strike is different. And later on this evening when I stream, I'm keen to do a bit more of the Miasma side of things. Echoing Strike will need a bit more thought from my side for me to give a opinion on. I also think some hero editing is required to sort of work out a couple optimal setups. But right now, with the seemingly endgame setup that they do give you when you start this pre-built character, it is a seemingly endgame setup, but it's by no means optimized in my opinion. It's almost like they give you the current meta setup, but the whole meta has shifted with how the changes to the Warlock have shifted. So it's almost like they're showing you, if you gear and play the Warlock like you used to, it doesn't work in the current meta or setup. That's maybe just my thoughts or what I think about it. But yeah, just reading the comments here. So, Pokey Hoyts, you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. Yeah, School of Rock, right there. That's some good advice to live by. Matt T, thank you very much for all the advice on the stream so far. Some good little tips and tricks you were providing there. Appreciate it, and thank you for hanging out. David Krieger, I'm glad you enjoyed the Abyss build. I, for me personally, it's definitely my most fun build to enjoy on the Warlock. I thoroughly enjoy the Abyss and Miasma build. I also think the Summoner builds are very cool with the Warlock. And Wizzy, yeah, the resistances are solidly shit with this setup. That could definitely use some work. Anyway, we will be streaming later, and I hope some of you join us again. That will probably be in about 4.5, 5 hours from now. I've just got some real life stuff to do first, and then this evening we'll be back with some more streaming. But yeah, don't be fooled into thinking this is optimal gear. Don't be fooled into thinking that the Echoing Strike Warlock should just be able to blast out of the gates right now. It's going to take a bit more thought. But either way, have a good rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is in your time of the world, and we'll catch you again very soon later on for some more Mana and Motherboards. Cheers, guys. Catch you soon.